All right. Well, thank you once again, everyone, for joining us today on another edition of Spincast. Today, joining us from Florida, I have Bennett NEWSOME with Full Sail University. I will let him tell you a little bit more about himself and what his role is currently in this esports space, if you will. But before I do all of that, I just want to welcome Bennett here, as well as say thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, we certainly appreciate your time. And why don't we just get started? Tell us a little bit about where you started with this, where you are today, how you kind of got about into being in this space, and what your role is.
Absolutely. So currently my position at Full Sail is I am the esports strategist for the university, which kind of spans over quite a lot of different areas when it comes to esports at Full Sail. But this is something that has been in kind of my wheelhouse for a long time. I've been a gamer my entire life. I started streaming about 5 years ago on Twitch, and throughout that process, have gone through the whole kind of journey of as a Twitch streamer. I got partnered on Twitch, and have continued to pursue that as well as working at Full Sail. I've been at Full Sail now for over 13 years, and it's one of those things where this university has had a incredible amount of support for esports and gaming over the years, and this is kind of one of those areas where most people are kind of getting into the world and the ecosystem of esports, whereas Full Sail, this has always been kind of part of like our DNA. I think back to around 2012, we were doing esports events with MLG and Red Bull right there on our campus, as well as some other developers and events that we've kicked off. But it's great to work for a company that sees the vision and kind of the road ahead when it comes to esports. And then obviously in our current time, we see that the only thing is esports right now, and it's getting its time, which is definitely creating a lot more interest from a lot of other people. Seeing iRacing on TV and NBA 2K and Madden and all, it's kind of crazy, but at the same time, there's a lot of potential and excitement there for a lot of folks. So it's definitely a really interesting time.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There's definitely a lot of attention now as
Yeah.
nothing else to do. But kids have been doing this all along. It's just they're doing
Right.
more now, based on the fact that they're unable to do other things on top of that. So, but from an esports perspective, obviously Full Sail has been around a lot longer than that.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about the university in general, other than esports. Obviously, it's a big gamut that they run, but it's kind of got their own niche too, which I think is kind of neat. So.
Absolutely. So Full Sail, we just actually celebrated our 40th anniversary, which is crazy. But the school was kind of founded on recording arts, teaching students to become studio engineers and recording studios. And from there, it just kind of expanded. Full Sail's always had a different approach to education. We truly believe in hands-on learning, project-based learning. I know for myself, if I'm going to go out and learn something, I need to go do it. You can only read so much in a book and take as many tests as possible. But at the end of the day, it's going to be me actually going and doing the thing. And for quite a long time, we were kind of the only people doing that. Obviously, that's caught on quite more over the years. But it's one of those things that having the ability that our students do to go into recording studios, to go into sound stages, to go into all of these different labs that are on our campus and create the things that they are passionate about, really can open the door to all of these different worlds that most people sometimes think are completely closed. Oh, how could I get into app development? That seems crazy, and there's a lot of new pathways for students that are really interested and passionate about these respected industries. So we focus on entertainment, media, the arts, all of those things. We have even some traditional degrees. We have creative writing degrees. We have entertainment business and music business degrees. And so there's quite a kind of a large scale of opportunity to focus on the things that you're passionate about.
Yeah. And I think
which is exciting, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Not only that, but it's somewhat critical for, someone who's in high school trying to figure out, well, where do I go to school?
Right.
You just mentioned it. If you're passionate about something, try to find a pathway, a university or college that's going to kind of bring that out of you. Because
Yeah.
we can all do something at work that we're really passionate about, then obviously the world will be a better place. But now, from an esports perspective, obviously Full Sail embraced that completely because they're one of the universities at the forefront, if you will. Tell us a little bit about the program there. I know you've got an arena that has recently been built that's
Correct.
unbelievable. Give us some information there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've obviously had our kind of feet in the water when it comes to the event side of esports for quite a long time. We have a show production degree program that really focuses on those types of events. But a couple years ago, we officially launched our collegiate teams, which is Armada. And Armada kind of encompasses all gaming at Full Sail. So if you're a gamer and you either like just a game or maybe you want to pursue esports, you would be involved with Armada. Inside and under that umbrella of Armada, we have our collegiate teams, our varsity teams, as well as all of our clubs. Right now, currently, we're doing a club community tournament on our Twitch channel where students have signed up to participate in a tournament at Hearthstone, and so they're having a good time doing that. And the idea is the community, really focusing on that gaming community, everyone getting together. Traditionally, we have every month we have a monthly club gathering. And that's just kind of like a giant LAN party. Everybody comes together, they bring all their gear, they have fun. There's some food, you can meet with other people, play some games, get into a tournament, whatever you want to do. That's been happening for quite a while. Obviously, amidst the pandemic, we kind of had to change that up, and so we've launched that into an online model, which will be actually happening this Sunday. On our Twitch channel, but it's a great opportunity for our students to meet other students and get together and again focus on something they're passionate about. But when we start to talk more about like the collegiate side of esports, we really focused on our student population. We're not currently recruiting the best League of Legends players or the best Call of Duty players. We're looking at what our students are already here on our campus and can come to a tryout and participate. And we've actually found some extremely talented gamers that have made our varsity teams and are doing really well. Our Call of Duty team is doing super well in the CCL, which we're really excited about. And it's just one of those things where we continue to see students evolve, not only from an education standpoint. They're held to the same standards as any varsity athlete would. They have to meet the GPA, they have to go to class, and then they still have to practice and then play their matches. So it's really exciting to see those students really blossom as we continue to go through these seasons. And then obviously the Fortress is kind of the icing on the cake, and this is the largest esports arena on any college campus in the country. And we've had the pleasure of hosting several, insane events with the NBA 2K, Red Bull. We did the Red Bull Proving Grounds. We've worked with the NHL and the Tampa Bay Lightning. And that's just to name a few. I mean, we did also the Hearthstone Collegiate Championships the end of last year as well. So it's one of those exciting opportunities where not only can we put on these great events, but the Fortress is also a classroom, and students are in there producing those events as they're happening. So they're not only getting experience, but they're also, getting to see the show, participate in the event, understand how it really works, control the lighting, the cameras, whatever their position is on the crew. They're able to get involved and do that.
That's awesome. You bring up a couple good points, and I want to get back to the social aspect in a moment, but one that you just alluded to, the students are doing everything, it sounds like. It's not that the students are coming in just to game.
Right.
The learning experience that they're getting, I think, is invaluable because they're behind the scenes, as you mentioned, from production, lighting, everything else that can certainly lead to other career pathways. Speak a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. I think, the funny thing you have to think about is when I was a kid, I wanted to be Joe Montana, right? But then I kind of realized I wasn't the greatest quarterback in the world, and that probably wasn't going to happen. But if I was super passionate about football and that carried on, like, there are plenty of opportunities and pathways to get into different areas of pro sports or the NFL, or working as an agent or working for the team. There's all these different pathways. And for the longest time, I feel like people didn't think that existed for esports either, and it really does. All of these events that go on across the world, they have people that are working behind the scenes, running all of those events, doing all of the different things, all of the different pathways. Each team, they have so many different possible positions that people can go in, whether that's a marketing side, a social side, content side, like doing the behind the scenes videos of the teams, running their content channels on Twitch and YouTube. There's so many different opportunities for qualified people to get in there and have those jobs, which then escalates to the next thing. You do that job, you're working for this team for a while, and then your work shows for itself. Then you maybe get a promotion, you maybe go to another team, and you continue to elevate your career. And that's one of the things that we really want to try to focus on at Full Sail, is to, not only give these students an opportunity to learn, on the top of the line gear and in a facility like the Fortress, but also work on some of these events that are happening, that they can then graduate. And the moment they walk across that stage at graduation, they've already got a bunch of things on their resume, and, oh, I did this event with Red Bull. Like, that's crazy, like, that's a pretty cool thing to have already. You just graduated 5 minutes ago and you got a credit like that. That's definitely something that people are going to take a look at.
Yeah, no doubt. That provides a very strong resume. Now, to kind of circle back into the social aspect, you talked about some of your LAN events, and they have food, and there's, it's a gathering, really. It truly
Right.
is. I've been to some of these, not on your campus, certainly, but at a variety of different collegiate campuses, as well as like DreamHack, things like that.
Right.
I think that's an important point to bring out, because there's a lot of kids that typically will game, obviously, in their room or in the comfort of their own home. And there's still a social aspect because they're online, potentially with some other buddies or things of that nature. But the ability to go live, and again, we're in a different climate right now, but eventually we'll have that. Right. The ability to go live, in my opinion, for a number of students is like nothing else, especially because they're so passionate about this. To find people that have like interests really opens them up. But if you could speak to what your experience has been with some of those live events with students that have that opportunity through Full Sail, and how you think it would be for students if they didn't have that opportunity.
Yeah, I think obviously, if you look back a couple of years ago, I think platforms like Twitch have really taken esports to the next level, because of the live aspect, right? And that you could watch it from your home and you could stream from your home. And this new career path, became something that was viable almost out of nowhere, which I think is incredible in itself. But especially in a time like this is something that streamers are like really showing everybody what they've got right now, because it's just almost unaffected, as this is what we do. We stay home, we play video games. That's what we do. And for our students to see that, one of the things that we have done, since we all kind of had our stay-at-home order, was we launched our stream team on our Armada channel. And so we've got every day almost, except for Fridays because of these community tournaments. We have students that are streaming their favorite games on our channel, and they're having a blast. They're really focusing sometimes on practice or scrims for the game that they are a varsity athlete for, or maybe they're having a good time playing a game that they haven't played in years, and just having some fun playing the game while streaming. And I think that brings out a whole other kind of world of kind of connection that I think everyone is really looking to now, to have that social connection, to have that ability to share something with other people. is really in need right now. And a platform like Twitch or YouTube or wherever it may be really can help connect people in a time that people seem to be very desperate for that connection.
Yeah, we definitely all need a little bit of that now. I think otherwise we all lose a little bit of our sanity, even though we
Yeah.
already. But also speak to what I was getting at as well is your live events. Obviously, they're not happening now.
Right.
But when you were having them, and obviously I anticipate once we're back to somewhat normal, you'll have
Correct. Yep.
the energy and the passion surrounding those rooms that I've seen is unbelievable. And it's so much better, in my opinion, for a student to be able to experience that
Yep.
versus having to stay at home and doing
Right.
it. So if you could speak to the gatherings and what your experience with that has been.
Right. So the experience of going to a gathering is really fun. Having Full Sail be not as traditional as a university, as a state school, maybe. You have these students coming together, really student organized, real student almost run. We have a student leadership group of students that are focused on the club, all things Armada, and so they'll pitch different tournaments and different ideas that they want to do during these club gatherings every month. And what we do from the staff perspective is just try to elevate those things, make sure that they happen, giving them support and where they need. But to see a brand new student come in that is new to Florida, they've never, this is their first experience with college, and so they're coming here and they walk in and they see all of these people playing the games that they love too. It's kind of like landing on your planet and being like, oh wait, I'm here. Maybe I didn't fit in before when I was in high school, but these are my people, you know what I mean? And that's a really cool thing to see. And now that we are kind of doing this online and in the online format as well, we still have seen that. We've had a lot of people in our Discord and having those tournaments and having fun. Everyone's streaming their perspective. We can jump from one channel to the next. It just makes it into kind of another fun take on that environment, but from the safety of our homes.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's kind of what I was alluding to, just in going to an event at different LAN centers for different universities that I visited, just to investigate and learn more. Going to DreamHack, I mean, the level of energy and the passion and the enthusiasm, I correlate it, and not necessarily maybe at LAN centers, but something like a DreamHack. It's almost like when you go to a soccer tournament and you see that passion from that fan base. It's incredibly similar, which
right.
Soccer fans are incredibly passionate, if not one of the most passionate sports out there. So I think that's fantastic to give those students the opportunity to get together with like-minded individuals and pursue their dreams. So, which, speaking of pursue their dreams, typically most colleges will hold work fairs and things of that nature. For someone that's involved specifically in esports, and I don't know if you may be able to answer this or not, but from a job perspective, once they're able to graduate Full Sail, what types of companies do you think typically would be attracted to someone that's coming from that background?
I think a lot. So we have a lot of different types of degrees. So each one kind of plays a different part. But the really cool thing about the ecosystem of esports is all of the degrees that we do offer, they all connect to it in some way, shape, or form. Whether that's being a reporter for, esports, or, writing, articles, being a journalist. Our creative writing program really focuses on, building a lot of those types of skills. We have the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, where most people are coming for traditional sports, but we have a large number of students that are really interested in esports and shoutcasting, and are coming specifically to learn the tools of the trade and go in that path. So, and then you obviously add on all of the lighting, the film, the event production, the sound, game design in general. If you're designing games for esports, that's a whole nother world that we can get into. But most of these industries, they need people that have knowledge of the tools and are ready to hit the ground running. And that's kind of the the focus that we put on as far as the education is concerned is that the moment that you leave, you're going to be ready to just pick up and jump into the position like you've been doing it for the last year. And I think that is really powerful when it comes to jobs. Obviously, with esports, it is a little bit different. But with that being said, what I've seen a lot of is all of these traditional companies starting to pivot and move in a direction that is facing esports, whether that's from event production or just coverage and content. Those areas are a big deal now, and obviously, like we said earlier, there's a lot of attention focused on esports currently, and that's only going to continue. Once we're back to our normal, that's going to continue to happen. People have gotten a taste of it, and sure, I'm sure people will go back to watching the NFL or the NHL or whatever it is, whatever your favorite sport is. But at the same time, they know what esports is now, and they're interested in maybe following that down a little bit deeper and really kind of understanding more about it. We get emails every day from parents and or prospective students that are, really, hey, I'm just really getting into this whole ecosystem, and I want to know more. What can I do?
And that's interesting you bring that up, because me as a parent, I didn't know too much about it a few years back, and now I seem to know a decent amount about it. And to be quite honest, even if I had children that didn't look at themselves as traditional gamers, if you will, they just played it more casually.
Right.
Wow, the ecosystem for esports is pretty darn big.
Yeah.
And it's obviously grown significantly year after year, and the projections are that will continue down that pathway. But regardless of that, even if it stayed the way it is today, numbers-wise, there's a great deal of opportunity out there. That's why you see, like you said, traditional companies like Snickers sponsoring NBA 2K.
Mm-hmm.
Companies like Jack in the Box, which is now sponsoring Team Envy out of Dallas. Things like that. They're getting their feet wet with this, and it's only going to grow more so. So even if you don't have that backing from a gamer perspective,
right,
not a bad field to start to learn a lot more about, because the career opportunities, I think, will only grow exponentially with that growth as well.
Yeah.
Lastly, as we're starting to run against it, if you were to look at, obviously right now, there's a number of different colleges and universities that are starting more and more to open the doors and provide scholarships and curriculum and facilities like the Fortress, not as big as yours, but certainly their own arenas. What do you suspect the landscape will look like 5 to 10 years from now within the collegiate system surrounding esports?
Yeah, I think that I think for the immediate future, not every institution needs a Fortress, right? They don't need a huge production space like that. More specifically because they don't offer those types of degrees that would make sense for that space, right? And at Full Sail, obviously, that's a huge part of our curriculum, is being hands-on in there and doing that. But with that being said, as this continues, I think that the 5-year out plan is that we're going to see it kind of go down into the high school and middle school systems and really start to build up speed there, where by the time that a student is out of middle school and out of high school or about to graduate from high school, that system is going to build them as an esports athlete to a whole nother level where they're prime for that collegiate landscape. And, right now, most students that are participating in collegiate esports, they've never had a coach before. Right. Besides traditional sports, sure, they've played football or whatever, and they've had a coach, but not in like video games, right? And so I think a big challenge that you see with a lot of schools is that they're having a hard time making that transition to students where they've never been coached. How do you get someone to understand that this is what we're working towards? These are the goals that we're really focused on, and it's something that's brand new. But as time goes on and these things build out, you're going to start to see student athletes that are incredible. The level of talent, the level of coachability, and really as those things continue to build, you're going to see more and more success. Personally, I don't think there's a huge path to pro necessarily from you going into college and then going pro like in most traditional sports. But once 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, when those paths have been set, absolutely, you could definitely see it. Obviously, right now, there's a lot of young, people that are going pro, in esports at a very young age. So I kind of feel right now that it could be backwards, where they've gone pro, they've played for a while, maybe their esports career is coming to an end. They only have a couple options at that point, right? Like maybe they've spent the time to build their brand. They have their Twitch channel or YouTube channel or whatever, and they have a decent following and maybe they can just go and transition to being a content creator. Maybe that's a great path, and they can go down that. Maybe they're extremely charismatic. They're great on camera. They're well spoken. Maybe they can go into the commentary side of things after their esports career, and so that could be a path. But then there's a large group and a portion of those players that are now retired at a young age. What do you do? And they don't want to stream. They don't want to be a caster. Well, maybe they go back to school, right? And maybe they go work on the business side of esports. And, that's where I see a whole kind of full circle thing happening is, students coming back from different teams coming to the collegiate world, and maybe they're a coach now. Maybe they get a scholarship to go coach a team, or maybe they're just going to learn, a new part of the craft that they want to focus on. So I think there's a lot of different possibilities as far as that. From a venue standpoint, 100%. I mean, they're already starting to build venues when it comes to, esports focused venues. I think early on we'll see them be multi-purpose, where that obviously esports is kind of the flashy new hot thing that they're going to talk about, but they'll have other things there. And I get that they need to, but as things move on, I really do see, these, specific esports venues and places that are going to, be had to have this type of competition.
Yeah, no doubt. I see that as well. And you brought up an interesting point too. I think it is starting to infiltrate the middle and high school level, certainly. And I like that simply from the perspective of if they do it correctly, a good curriculum-wise, coaching-wise, everything from A to Z, and teach them at those young ages, it does give them a variety of opportunities. If they did go pro, obviously, then they can fall back on a number of the things that they learned previously.
Yep.
Pursue some of those careers. And even for most, which obviously, it's incredibly difficult in any sport to go pro. They'll have so many different doors open up for them because they learned that foundation at an early age. So I think as well. So I think certainly we'll see changes. It's a still relatively new space, quite frankly, even though it's been around for a long time. But if you compare it to other conventional or traditional sports that have been around for 100 years, and even those still change, even today, right? We're still seeing about rule changes in baseball or football or basketball. So esports will find its groove, I think, at some point when more regulatory bodies come into play and there's a little bit more sanction and a little bit more streamlined, if you will, everyone involved. And I can't wait to see that. I think we will see that, as we progress down the road, because it does, again, for the community that we're speaking to, those middle school and high school age students, it does provide a wealth of different opportunities for them. So So anyway, Bennett, I sincerely do appreciate you coming in today and spreading a little bit more information about yourself and obviously about Full Sail. We sincerely appreciate the conversation. I know I always learn a little bit more with each and every single one of these. So I personally appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no worries. I hope you stay safe, and hopefully we'll be able to reconnect maybe down the road a little bit, just touch base, see how things are going, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, anytime you want to make your way down to Florida once this is all over and check out the Fortress firsthand, let me know. Be happy to show you around, and I'm happy to be here. So if anything ever comes up, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, that is definitely going to be on my list of places. a lot of great things about it. So I'm definitely going to take you up on that one. So hopefully sooner than later.
Right.
Other than that, again, thanks so much, and hope you have a great rest of the day.
You as well.